So, my topic is music and language development. And I know we talked about language a little bit. We talked about the very basic, the very foundation of language. And I just chose this topic because I think it's very interesting. So, I want to start off by talking about the effects of music. And I want to show a little clip, part of this video. And basically, she just talks about how music is very beneficial, all the ways that music can help us.
It doesn't have important uses that have been scientifically supported. So, for example, music can reduce pain. It can reduce pain after surgery, during labor, or even chronic continuous pain. Music can also aid recovery from stroke. So, if rehabilitation activities are centered around music, they become more engaging, and patients can engage in them longer and with greater focus and enjoyment. This makes them much more effective. It can also improve endurance and perceived exertion, or how hard you feel like you're working during exercise. And I don't know about you, but for me, anything that makes exercise feel a little less painful is a good thing. Music can also help walking in Parkinson's disease. There's something about the regular rhythms and the steady beat that can make their movement more rapid when they have trouble with slowness, or help them begin movements when they have trouble with initiation. Music has also been used in these patients effectively as a reward. When they're walking in a good way, a way that we want to reinforce, they get to hear music that they like, and this encourages them to walk in a better fashion. And finally, music can have interesting effects on dementia patients. If you play music from a patient's childhood, they often can recall memories from throughout their lives. In fact,
So yeah, she just talked about the ways, just the different ways that music can affect us, how it can help us. But I wanted to add a few more things to that. I also wanted to talk about the fact that music does affect our mood. It can be therapeutic, and there is also a lot of research that shows that music can be therapeutic. And also, it can be used as a form of therapy. I know music therapy has grown a lot in the past few years, and I did a research paper as well last semester about how music therapy helps. It helps people with brain injuries. It helps people, kids with autism, or just people with autism, adults as well. It's just a form for them to be able to express themselves a lot easier than by, using words. Now I want to talk about the similarities between music and language. So I know that music uses the right hemisphere of the brain and language uses the left. But despite this, research suggests that they do overlap. There's, for example, there's phonological awareness. Um, there's a few studies that has shown that where they have used kids to see if it helps with that, and I will be talking more about that. And then it also pitch perception skills have been found. And basically, there's just this research that they did where they used Mandarin speakers because they wanted to use a tone language. And a tone language is um, where a lot of their words mean more than one thing. Like it just has words can mean, like, their words could have multiple meanings depending on the tone that you give it or the pitch that you give it when you say it. And so then they used a tone language, people who are tone language native speakers, and then they used another group who don't use tone languages. So then what the results showed was that the Mandarin speakers were able to distinguish the falling pitches or when the pitches changed. They were better at perceiving that. And then there's research also suggests that musicians do better in phonetic perception tasks. And again, I'm going to be talking more about that one as well. So, music and language in preschoolers and kindergarten. So there's this phonological awareness study that they did, and they used 41 preschoolers ages 5 to 6, and they split these preschoolers into 3 groups, or 3 programs: music program, phonological skills program, and a sports training program. They added the sports training program to use as a control group, and what they did is that they met up and they did 2 tasks. So when they were in their program, when the kids were in their programs, they did 2 tasks each time, and then each task was done for at least 5 minutes. And they ended up doing a total of 100 sessions. And then they did both a pre-test and a post-test. And the chart down here, it shows the results. It shows what they got from their post-test. And the green one is the control group or the sports training program. The red line is the phonological skills program, and the blue line is the music program. And as you can see, the music program did like a little bit better than the phonological skills program. But I think these results are definitely significant because the music program didn't really focus on phonological skills. They just had the kids do a lot of musical things, and they just introduced them to new words using music and using instruments, and this helped them a significant amount, as the results show. And there's also been other studies done as well, and I want to talk about this other study that was done where they measured the musical abilities and the phonological awareness in 55 preschoolers. And what they found was that music can be used as a precursor to reading. So if the kids did well in the musical abilities, then they are also going to do good. Then they also did well in the phonological awareness when they tested them for that. And then music also helps kids to read. So this study, they did it on 80 kids, and they did it on kids who only speak Spanish at home. So it was their primary language, their first language. So then they used 2 teachers. They wanted 2 teachers to use a lot of music in their class, and then they wanted the other 2 teachers to not use any music at all in their classroom. And the teachers who used a lot of music in their class, they incorporated a lot into the material that they were teaching the kids. And this study lasted for 2 years. It lasted from kindergarten to the end of first grade. And what they concluded was that 10 students from the music class were reading at grade level in Spanish and English, and one child in the non-music class, and only one child in the non-music class was reading at grade level in English and Spanish. So, 10 students doesn't really seem like a lot, but if you take into perspective that these kids were being taught both languages, I mean, it's very, the results are very significant. I'm sure if they used only kids who speak whose first language is English and who only speak English, I'm sure the results would have been a lot higher than those 10 kids. But either way, I mean, it definitely this study shows that music does help kids to read. So now the advantages in being a musician. Musicians are quicker to adjust to speech differentiations. Um, so what they did in the study here was they used three different age groups. So they used 3 to 5 year olds, 7 to 13 year olds, and 18 to 30 year olds. And they they used 21 of the 3 to 5 year olds, 26 of the 7 to 13 year olds, and 26 of the 18 and 30 year olds. And they used half of those people, or I'm sorry, half of those people were musicians and the other half weren't. And what they did was they used this synthesizer to produce 2 syllables, and they had them play those 2 syllables until it transitioned to the other syllable. And what they wanted the participants to do was to distinguish when that transition happened, when those syllables changed. And what the results showed was that musicians in all age groups showed more distinct responses to ga and ba in the anticipated direction. So the musicians knew when the syllables changed. So again, you know, um, this helps them. This helps those 3 to 5 year old in their reading and writing skills. This goes back to the preschool and kindergarten studies that have been done. So, my summary in conclusion, we can conclude that there is enough significant data to support the claim that music is able to help in language development. However, I did have 3 unanswered questions and where future research can be done. For example, can the use of music in classrooms help 4th and 5th graders or even kids in middle school in their reading and writing skills? Can the use of music help kids with reading disabilities with dyslexia? And finally, to what extent can music help language development? Even though there is, enough research, there's definitely room to expand and to do more research. And finally, here are my references. Thank you.